Be advised, the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to GNN, where we bring you intelligent programming. I'm your host, Attorney Sara Suguitan, and on your this show, Intellectual Property. Tonight, we're going to discuss alternative dispute resolution. Alam niyo ho, yung problema sa marami sa atin na nagmamay-ari ng intellectual property, katulad ng trademarks o patents, mga invention, minsan may nanggagaya, may nangongopya, may nagre-rehistro na beyond our name. So, nangyayari, nagkakasuhan ho tayo, it takes 10 years, the rest of our lifetime before the case gets terminated. Ngayon, meron ho mga tinatawag na alternative modes ng dispute resolution, at isa po dyan ay ang mediation, which we are going to tackle tonight, and I think this is a very important tool for businessmen who happen to look for alternatives to litigation. Joining us tonight on the first part of the program is the Executive Director of the Mediation arm of the Intellectual Property Office, Ms. Vilmi Quipit. Good evening, Ms. Vilmi.
Good evening, Attorney Sara.
Hi. So, the Intellectual Property Office is launching its mediation program for stakeholders who want to avail of this particular dispute resolution. Can you please tell us what kinds of cases reach the Intellectual Property Office when it comes to, trademarks or patents?
Actually, as far as IPO is concerned, from our approved rules of procedure, all cases brought before IPO can now be referred to the mediation office, except for cases that have application for TRO.
So lahat po ng kaso na ifo-file ngayon sa Intellectual Property Office, particularly sa Bureau of Legal Affairs, and also the Office of the Director General
and the DITTB
and the Documentation Information Technology Transfer Bureau are now going to be referred to mediation. So ito pong mediation na to, isa tong parang mode of an alternative to litigation. Instead of me versus Y going to court and filing a case, we will instead be referred to mediation. Who will refer us? The Intellectual Property Office?
Where they file the case, we have 3 originating offices: the Bureau of Legal Affairs, the Office of the Director General, and the DITTB. They refer the cases to us, and then the parties will choose the mediator, and once the mediator is chosen, then the mediator will start handling the case.
Okay, halimbawa po, ang kaso ko ganito. Let's take a sample case. If, for example, I have a brand that I want to apply for a trademark so that I can own it. Tapos all of a sudden, I find in the IPO, Bureau of Trademarks, na it's registered to someone else. Diba? So, nakarehistro to someone else, and that registration was obtained fraudulently, nanloko, diba? Na saying na he or she was the one who obtained that trademark. Ngayon, I want to file for cancellation of that person's registration. I go to the Bureau of Legal Affairs, or the BLA. Now, once I file a case there, I will be given an option whether or not I want it mediated. Is that the case?
No, for now, it's already mandatory.
It's mandatory.
Effective October 21, 2010, all cases filed before the IPO will be mandatorily referred to mediation. The mandatory there is referral to the mediation office. However, they still have their own choice whether or not to enter into a compromise. But with the assistance of a very skillful mediator, very often cases are settled.
Ms. Quipit, have you ever mediated a case, or do you have experience in mediation in particular?
Well, I have been a mediator for almost 10 years or
For
10
10
years, yeah. And
What sorts of cases have you?
well,
have you
these are
handled
court
before?
annex cases.
So criminal.
Civil. Actually, it's only the civil aspect of the case, but like BB 22, the civil aspect of it is the one that is being settled. But in most cases, if the civil liability is already complied with, then the complainant would just decide to voluntarily file an affidavit of desistance so that the case will really be completely erased from the docket.
So you have experienced before na naayusin na po yung mga kaso ng mga tumalbog na cheque, nagkasuhan, tapos ni-refer sa mediation this is outside of the court or within also the supervision of the judge?
For the court annex mediation, it has to be referred by the judge to the Philippine Mediation Center, where the mediators are under.
So you're one of the expert mediators accredited by this Philippine Mediation Council. So regulated po siya, hindi basta-basta yung mediators natin. Ibig sabihin kung may kaso ako and then I am referred to mediation, there is a list of accredited mediators.
Yes.
Okay, so who qualifies? I mean, how about the mediators in IPO? Do you have?
Actually, with IPO, we just released a selection, mediator selection flyer, where we put there the very important category is that the professional, meaning has finished a course, a 4-year course, has the ability to keep confidential information, and important also is the good moral character, patient enough to listen to conflicts, because it's so difficult to become a mediator if you don't have the love to listen to conflicts.
Yes, you need to have the patience to listen. So hindi po basta-basta ang pwedeng maging mediator o kumbaga interveners, mga
Personally, I believe that you have to be gifted to become one, because not everybody would like to listen to problems and love to help them, come up with a solution to it. But in mediation, actually, it's not the mediator who will make the decision. It's going to be the parties being helped by the mediator for them to come up with an option, and then with the options, they try to, in the process of the negotiation, they'll be able to see that they have common interests. The common interest makes it the ground for them to see that after all, despite differences, they can still come up with an agreement where both parties are happy.
So that they don't have to go through litigation.
Yes, if it becomes successful in mediation, then the case is given back to court, but the judge will render his judgment on the basis of the compromise agreement.
Of the compromise agreement.
Yes.
I see. So that is is it safe to say that that's the end goal of mediation efforts of the Intellectual Property Office, a compromise agreement that is amenable to, something that is agreeable to both litigating parties?
Yes.
That's what you aim
Yes,
for.
but what personally I would like to aim for is not just the problem being solved, but if as much as possible go on a higher level of even the relationships restored, because that makes it more satisfying when you see two parties really at war at each other, and then seeing them embrace each other, forgiving each other, because they have realized after all there was just a misunderstanding, or despite differences, they can still agree on certain things to be able to move on.
Yeah, but is that possible also? Do you also see that kind of agreement in this highly technical, highly specialized field of law? Kasi, for example, in criminal cases or civil damages cases, alam mo yun, nag-away ng magkapitbahayan, it's very good to mediate kasi it's something na you can take time off and make sure that you restore the relations back to normal, di ba? Pero for example, in intellectual property, it's more there's a business side to it, di ba? May kopyahang nangyari, there are damages.
Yes.
How do you think relations will be restored through mediation?
But there are also companies who have relatives, like for instance, the entire family owned the trademark, and then something happened in the relationship. One got married and wanted to take over the entire thing. So that can be very emotional. Actually, worldwide, if you see the trend in IP, success rate is 80%.
Through mediation.
Worldwide, through mediation.
I see.
So what is happening in the world of the court, the Philippine courts, is also happening not only there but also in intellectual property all over the world.
All over the world.
Yeah.
So tell me, how is mediation similar to litigation? Are there filing fees, for example? Are there records? Like, may nagsisteno ba dyan while the mediation process is ongoing?
In mediation, it's very different from the court litigation. For one, nobody will take down notes.
Okay.
It's no because everything's supposed to be confidential. Whatever the parties will tell the mediator, it's supposed to be kept confidential. You will just notice that the mediator will just take down notes just to remember the figures, for instance, and then he or she will be made aware that these cases, you know, this will be settled this way because both parties agree to at a certain point about certain issues.
But it's not a word-by-word transcript of the proceedings because it's a no-no. Unlike in the courts, di po ba? Kapag hearing word-by-word.
Yes. And
sa mediation.
the great difference, Attorney Sara, is that the parties themselves are given the opportunity to craft their own solution to their problem. So it becomes, there's a sense of ownership because they really participated in resolving their conflict. And it's deeply gratifying, especially when they see, each party would see that, yeah, it was just a misunderstanding. You know, a long time ago I wanted to ask you that, but you know, I was afraid because it might be counted against me. But in mediation, there's the free-willing discussion. With the assistance of a very skillful mediator, the discussion can be beautiful inside the mediation office.
Okay, yung sinasabi niyo po na the parties form the solutions to their own problem, does that mean that during mediation, there are no lawyers to assist them? It's just one-on-one?
No. If I handle cases, I like the lawyers to be present so that they can participate in especially in the finalization of the compromise agreement because that's their bread and butter. So I'd like them to get involved.
Yes, but during the discussions, the parties are the ones who mainly speak about the cases.
That's the difference.
That's
because in the court,
the
lawyers speak.
Yes,
but
that's right.
In mediation,
the
parties are encouraged to really speak up. And but some lawyers also try to participate. Maybe about 50% of the lawyers who come, they say, "Oh, ma'am, can we just go out because my client is intelligent enough to be able to discuss the situation." We have quite a number of lawyers who are very friendly with mediation. Unlike before in 2001, the insults coming from them because they were threatened. But I think they see it now as really important also in speeding up their getting paid because it's success, you know, payment for
their fees.
Yes.
Okay. How come they were how come the legal circle was averse to mediation in 1991? Was that around the time it started?
2001.
2001.
No, actually, in 1998, there were already a few courts that had it tested. However, in 2001, that was when the Philippine Mediation Center, I mean the courts in the Philippines, Supreme Court, launched it in the three big cities in the Philippines: Metro Manila, Metro Cebu, and Metro Davao. And the success rate is quite high.
Effective.
Very effective. And like right now, even when I go back to Davao City, there are still those who would, you know, remind me that I was the one instrumental in having their family business healed and partitions of whatever properties they had or their share are already being enjoyed by them until this day. So it's nice. I went to Baguio one time. I went to the market to make towels. And of course, Mom, you were the one who handled our case.
Yeah,
you settled it.
So there's goodwill, diba? I mean, everyone's happy because they're satisfied with how the mediation worked out. But where do you hold the mediation proceedings and how long does that usually take?
Yeah. In our case, at IPO, we will hold it in our office.
I see.
Yeah, we will have like for the settlement month, this coming January 31 to February 28, it will be held at our multipurpose. We will have the multipurpose hall partitioned into 5 cubicles for the 5 mediators to handle cases in the morning, and then 5 mediators to handle in the afternoon.
Okay, so the parties will be there along with their lawyers. They'll have their own cubicle, their own privacy, I mean, to talk things out and settle their case, find the solution to their problems, in other words. Okay, how